few different issues here. The FTC is focused on Facebook's market power in social media, but increasingly Article 230, that so-called legal shield, is getting a lot of attention from lawmakers. How can you, if you can, reconcile the two, or does it risk muddying the issues so that we don't really see any major action from the FTC when it comes to Facebook's market power?
Well, it's been widely reported that the FTC has been under some pressure from the White House to take some action with regard to censoring conservative viewpoints, and they have resisted that. I think that the FTC traditionally have been bipartisan and been a pretty fair and even arbiter here. So the question is, if they're under pressure now and looking at this time right before the election, and that based on people's concerns, mainly conservative concerns about censorship and the ongoing question about Section 230, then it really deals with content regulation. And I'm not sure how the FTC deals with that on an antitrust basis. How do you define what the market is for content? Is this really about the market for news? In which case, it'd be pretty hard to make a case that Facebook's the only source for news.
Right, and that's sort of what I was getting at. Does it muddy the issues? And while these agencies are supposed to be nonpartisan, we certainly saw some partisan cracks emerge when it came to the DOJ and Google. So what are the implications here? Do you think that this reduces the chances of any action to, say, undo or split up previous acquisitions that Facebook may have done?
Well, I think that would be somewhat difficult anyway. That's a tough case to make. But if they had something, then for them to proceed, I would hate for them to proceed on a partisan basis. For example, right now, the commission probably has a majority of Republicans. And if they were able to take a vote based on the majority of Republicans and not backed in a bipartisan way, that would be somewhat unusual and disappointing. It'll also be tough for them to make this substantive case, no matter what happens, on a market that's broadly defined as news or content. So it's interesting to see if they have an anti-competitive concern, what the nature of that concern is.
From the legal challenges of trying to frame this, Mozelle, I mean, you can look up the daily top 10 topics that get engagement on Facebook, at least Facebook Core, and it's routinely the president himself or right-wing commentators or Fox News. I wonder, is that any kind of insulation, or is that a protective layer against would-be antitrust or FTC scrutiny?
Well, that will be certainly one of the things the company raises. You know, the company, and together with Twitter and others, and you look at what's going to be happening next week with the subpoena of CEOs and the partisan subpoena, it was done by Republicans. You kind of wonder if they're really trying to find the answer to competitive issues, or they're really trying to make a political point. And that's something that I think we all should be concerned about, because you're mixing the substance with the fact that somebody may be trying to prolong a political story. I think the FTC is there to really look at what the impact is going to be on consumers. And I think they're going to have to make that case, and they're going to have to figure out, even if they decide to move forward, what the substantive facts are that goes to show consumer harm.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.